What you see and hear is a tree stump wrapped in leather. Foley artist Marko Costanzo of C5 Sound thought of this innovative combination when he had to make the noises for Manny the Mammoth in Ice Age. It helped capture the sound of a massive creature stomping on the ground. Marko needed to make sure he got an object that accurately captured not only this creature's weight, but also the pattern in which a creature of this size would walk, in this case, heel to toe. Foley artists use objects to create sounds based on a character's movements and interactions.
We have to make sounds that embellish their movements.
Marko's done Foley sounds for movies like Goodfellas, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and The Big Lebowski. But mimicking the sounds of animals isn't as easy as woofing or purring. Though he can do that too. Picking the right sounds involves carefully examining both objects and surfaces. Take horses galloping, for instance. A pair of plastic coconut shells could certainly do the trick, but when it came time to make the horse sounds for a movie like 2010's True Grit remake,
I use rocks because you can hear the sound of the impact. When you're using coconuts, yeah, you might hear that little click, but when I use a rock, I hear boom, 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 boom. If you ever hear and ride a horse, you're hearing that 2,000, 5,000 pound animal on every footstep going boom, 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 boom.
While the plastic shells might work on cobblestones, Marko realized you can barely hear them in dirt, the surface the horses in True Grit were most likely to tread upon.
I'm not going to use the typical coconuts because there's no weight and you don't really even hear that cavity sound. These would be the medium size. Immediately you can hear a little bit more of the bottom end, right? And my favorite are the rocks. You're getting a low end thud right along with your crunchy.
An animal's size is a big factor, especially when that animal is tiny. Marko did the sounds for the dragonfly in the opening of 1997's Men in Black.
We were really playing with different kinds of paper and cards. I remember one of the ideas was, well, put a card in a bicycle spoke and spin it, and you'd hear the and everyone's like, yeah, great, but you hear the metal spoke. Well, and then the question was, well, how do we do that and not get it sound like metal? How do you get it sound organic like an animal?
Marko found the right sound using handheld fans. With the fans, Marko could more easily adjust the dragonfly's variation in movement by putting his finger on the blade. A different challenge arose when working on Marley Me, which chronicles a dog's life from puppy to old age. Marko had to figure out how to make the dog sound different at different ages, so it wasn't just about size, but how an animal grows over time.
I have two different size nails on them. These are the smaller ones, and you can see there's bigger ones on that side. And they sound distinctively different. Listen to this one. These are the smaller ones. Now, I would flip these around. I'm not going to flip right now.
Here's a younger, more excited dog. And the same dog at a much older age. And for some scenes, Marko had to layer a track for the dog's collar. For a bigger dog, Marko used a heavy chain. And a smaller dog has a smaller collar, so you just hear the tags.
So every time they're moving their head, you think they're so cute. Oh yeah, but they're non-stop noise.
It's not just a one-sound-fits-all type of deal. For gigantic animals, like that mammoth from Ice Age, Marko had to create multiple sounds and then have them layered to truly capture the physical scope of the character.
When we went to do a second track, picked up a bunch of grass, and at the same time we rolled this.
Then he added some pebbles and twigs to capture things the mammoth might be stomping on. There are plenty of other considerations that go through the mind of a Foley artist when making animal sounds, like how many animals there are.
If I was doing a single bird and it was flying, I'd be like, in rhythm, fast, taking off, A flock of birds, I wouldn't even use feathers. I would probably use gloves for that.
When it comes to eating, Marko might need to think about whether the food is wet or dry, or whether the animal has a snout. For example, if it's a horse chewing celery.
I put my hands up to here because you get a little bit of a cavity there. And it's those cavities that sell the sound.
On some occasions, if a digital library won't do, he'll also have to do the vocals himself. To see a Foley artist's thought process about animal sounds in action, we put Marko to the test by showing him a stock video clip with no sound that he had never seen before.
Adorable. Oh boy, claws. Oh yeah, this thing's... All right. That's definitely AstroTurf. You got a few tracks to do. Because you got the claw on the ground, you got the claw on the thing, you got the teeth on the mat, you got the body movement, the fur.
For the mat, Marko found one in his studio with very similar material.
We're going to do the paws first, and for paws we just need a pair of leather gloves.
For the lion's teeth, he used this small block of wood with nails drilled into it, which he created for the tiger in Life of Pi.
One more time. Gotta work on sync.
He brought back the wood block for the cub's scratching.
The claws, which are very similar to the teeth, they have different action. They were pulling at it. Here it's gripping. I have a few different varieties of fur here. We've got the AstroTurf. The cat is moving along it, so we're going to rub his body along the bottom as he pulls himself forward. Bring the mic real close. It's a very small sound. That'll be the most convincing sound, because all of a sudden you go from just an animal that's there moving around to you have the feeling of it against the floor. You feel its presence.
To top it all off, a few collar shakes and a few chews.
With this little guy, I'm only opening my mouth and doing like maybe 50% of the volume I could get, you know. Right now he's got a little tongue lick that we're gonna get a little bit of a slobbering sound. Remember, cat also has a dry tongue. It might be a little sandpapery, but you know, when it's on itself, it's just a...
Then, a Foley mixer watched the footage and layered it all together. So, what makes watching this without sound, and then with sound, different?
The sounds that we make brings you into the personality of the animal. You become closer to it. You want to give it a personality, you want to give the sounds a personality, and you can do it by its sound movements. That's what Foley artists do. We give detail.